Gabriel now looking over his shoulder. This week they're in Pittsburgh, but next week, when the Browns return home, first interception, first incompletion, there is a large contingent of Shedeur Sanders fans out there. Do you think that will affect Dylan Gabriel at all?
I don't think it'll affect him, but I think it will exist. Gabriel's probably a loser in this for that reason. Because now Shedeur's right on his heels and his huge contingent of fans, but he doesn't seem affected by it. At least he didn't on the field. He played through it. But you're right. We're gonna hear chants for Shedeur as soon as he throws it, and he hasn't even thrown an interception.
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. Man, I don't think people realize how big this moment was. When Tony Grossi went live and flat out called Dylan Gabriel a loser in this quarterback battle, that wasn't just hot take TV. That was a bomb dropped right in the middle of the Cleveland Browns locker room. Think about that for a second. An insider, someone who's been around this team for years, someone who actually knows the pulse of the organization, didn't sugarcoat it, didn't spin it, didn't play nice. He said what the fans have been whispering and what the locker room has probably been thinking. Dylan Gabriel is already losing, even before he's officially lost the job. That's insane. Because here's the thing about NFL culture. Insiders don't usually cross that line. They'll hint, they'll suggest, they'll give you the keep an eye on this guy kind of language. But to come out and say, yeah, this dude's basically cooked, that tells you something bigger. It tells you the pressure in Cleveland isn't just simmering, it's boiling over. And let's be real, this isn't just about one bad practice or one good throw from Shedeur Sanders. This is about a power shift, a changing of the guard, a storm that's been building since the Browns decided to draft Shedeur in the first place. You could feel it the moment he walked in the building. The buzz, the hype, the eyes in the room turning his way. And now, that energy has officially spilled over into the media. Once it reaches that point, there's no putting it back. Imagine you're Dylan Gabriel right now. You were supposed to be the guy, the bridge, maybe even the long-term solution if things broke your way. And instead, before you've even thrown your first interception, the headlines are already saying your days are numbered. Your own receivers are praising the rookie. Your defensive captain is telling the world this kid is grinding in the film room like a 10-year vet. And now the insiders, the people who get the leaks, the texts, the whispers, they're publicly saying it's over. How do you even walk into practice after that? How do you lead when the room already feels like it's chosen somebody else? That's the suffocating part. This isn't just a quarterback controversy. This is a quarterback room-turned war zone. Every snap Gabriel takes now feels like it comes with a countdown clock. Every mistake is going to be magnified. And the fans? They've already been told what to do. Tony Grossi practically handed them the script. Wait for the first incompletion, then start chanting Shedeur. And believe me, in Cleveland, that crowd is going to run with it. So yeah, this is more than just a practice highlight or a spicy soundbite. This is a seismic shift in Cleveland. A franchise that thought it had a plan at quarterback is now staring down a tidal wave of pressure, hype, and momentum that they might not be able to stop. And Dylan Gabriel? He's standing right in the middle of it, trying not to drown. And that's just the beginning. Because if you think this bombshell was wild, wait until we start looking at what Shedeur Sanders is actually doing to put himself in this position. The work, the leadership, the aura. That's where the real story starts to unfold. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody in Cleveland wants to say out loud. Dylan Gabriel didn't walk in as a scrub. He walked in with a resume. UCF to Oklahoma, big boy stages, real production, real poise and tempo offenses. The kind of timing and rhythm that make coordinators nod and say, yeah, we can work with that. He was sold to fans as the bridge with upside, the steady hand who could keep the ship straight while the rest of the roster, a playoff caliber defense, real weapons outside, did the heavy lifting. That was the vision. That was the promise. And for about 5 minutes, that felt believable. Then Shedeur Sanders stepped into the building and the temperature changed. Because Shedeur isn't showing up like a normal rookie. He's showing up like a movement. There's talent, sure, the ball placement, the calm feet, the command in the huddle. But there's also the wave behind him, the family legacy, the spotlight that follows him everywhere, the primetime DNA that turns a Tuesday install into a trending story. You can feel it in the hallways, in the media room, in the fan base. It's not just, is he good? It's we want to believe he's the one. And that belief is a force. It pulls headlines. It pulls locker rooms. It pulls owners into meetings they didn't plan to have. So when Gabriel takes the field now, he isn't just competing with a quarterback. He's competing with momentum. He's competing with an idea. And that's the cruel part. Shedeur doesn't need to outthrow Dylan on Wednesday to win the crowd on Sunday. He just has to exist in the periphery. First in the building, last out, in the coach's office, on the tablet, dabbling in cadence with the first-team center, and the room feels the shift. That's how movements work. They grow even when nothing official changes. And that's why Gabriel feels like he's playing under a microscope the size of the Jumbotron. Every incompletion matters. Every hesitation matters. Every snap matters. That check down that looks smart on paper, it lands like fear if the stadium's already craving thunder. The safe throw that keeps the chains moving, it gets graded against the highlight that hasn't happened yet. The imaginary shot down the seam everyone swears Shedeur would have ripped. That's not fair, but quarterback battles never are. Remember how Philly held its breath with Jalen Hurts until one December flipped the narrative? Remember how Seattle swore it was Matt Flynn's job until Russell Wilson refused to blink? Those weren't just talent wins. They were energy wins. The locker room felt the lift. The coaches felt the inevitability. And once the fans felt it, the rest was ceremony. Cleveland is flirting with that same tectonic pressure. You can hear it in the way vets talk about Shedeur's habits. You can hear it in how the head coach dances around depth chart questions like they're tripwires. You can hear it in the way the crowd reacts to practice clips like they're postseason tape. So where does that leave Gabriel? In an audition with no curtain, he has to hit the big boy throws and drown out the noise. He has to lead huddles and quiet a chant that hasn't even started. He has to be unshakable while everyone asks if he's shaking. It's brutal. It's unforgiving, and right now it's real. Because the shadow behind him isn't just a rookie, it's a movement with a pulse. This is where the story gets heavy. Because if you think Dylan Gabriel is the only one under pressure, you're wrong. Both quarterbacks are carrying baggage into this battle, and the criticism is brutal on both sides. For Gabriel, the whispers are relentless. He's not the guy. He's just a placeholder. He's already lost the room. Imagine being a young quarterback stepping into Cleveland, a city starving for stability, and before you even hit your stride, people are already treating you like a stopgap. That's the reality Dylan lives in. Every throw he makes isn't just judged on mechanics. It's judged on what it means for the future. If he throws a pick in practice, it's not just a bad rep. It's a headline. Is Shedeur ready? If he takes a sack, it's not about the offensive line. It's about his confidence. Gabriel's every move is being dissected as proof that he can't hold this job. That's suffocating. But let's not pretend Shedeur Sanders is immune to the heat. His last name is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, he's Deion's son. He's got pedigree, he's got charisma, he's got cameras following him like he's already the starter. On the other hand, that pedigree comes with knives. Critics call him a hype machine. They say he's living off his father's aura. They question whether the poise he showed in college will translate when Myles Garrett is screaming off the edge or when he's staring down a hostile AFC North defense. They ask, is this kid the real deal, or is this all smoke and mirrors? That spotlight burns just as hot, and it's unforgiving. This is where the tension really sets in. Gabriel trapped under the spotlight of doubt, Shedeur trapped under the microscope of expectation. One quarterback fighting to prove he belongs, the other fighting to prove he's not just a name. And the cruel part? Both of them are doing it in the same building, in front of the same teammates, with the same fans watching every snap like it's life or death. And here's why this matters even more. The Browns season hangs in this balance. This isn't a rebuilding year where you can shrug your shoulders and say, we'll figure it out next draft. This is a roster ready to win now, a defense anchored by Myles Garrett, weapons on the outside, a fan base that's done being patient. The quarterback decision isn't just about who starts on Sunday. It's about whether Cleveland takes a step forward or collapses under the weight of its own drama. That's the knife's edge they're standing on right now. And the scariest part? The criticism isn't slowing down, it's only getting louder. Which raises the question, who's going to bend and who's going to break? Here's the part that flips everything on its head. Because while the outside world is throwing labels around, while the media is stirring the pot, while fans are arguing in the comments section, Shedeur Sanders is doing something completely different. He's not campaigning. He's not politicking. He's not running to the podium to plead his case. He's just grinding, quietly, relentlessly. And that's exactly why his teammates are buying in. Jerry Jeudy said it best. Shedeur understands the plays, does whatever the coaches ask, carries himself like a pro. And on paper, that sounds like standard rookie praise, right? But listen to the tone. That's not just a wide receiver patting a young guy on the head. That's a starter. A dude who has to trust the quarterback with his career numbers, saying, this kid gets it. In a league where locker rooms can sniff out phoniness from a mile away, that means everything. And then you've got Myles Garrett. Let's pause on that for a second. We're talking about the face of the franchise, a man who doesn't waste his breath unless it's real. And he's telling reporters that almost every morning when he walks into the facility, Shedeur is already there, sitting in the coach's office, breaking down film, talking through protections. Going over schemes like Sunday is already his. That's not rookie behavior. That's franchise quarterback behavior. Picture it. The veterans are pulling into the parking lot, coffee in hand, maybe still rubbing the sleep out of their eyes, and Shedeur's car is already there. Lights on in the coach's office, playbook open. That image sticks with you because it's not glamorous. It's not for cameras. Nobody's handing out gold stars for showing up early. That's just pure hunger, and hunger is contagious. What I love about this story is the contrast. On the outside, it's chaos. Fans chanting, insiders blasting Dylan Gabriel, reporters sniffing around for controversy. It's noise, and it's loud. But inside that building, Shedeur is the opposite of noise. He's discipline. He's consistency. He's focus. That's how leaders are born. Not by talking, but by showing. And that's why this locker room is tilting his way without a word being said. Because think about it. When your star wideout goes out of his way to praise the backup, when your all-pro defensive end is publicly impressed by a rookie's preparation, when your teammates start repeating the same stories about you always being the first in and last out, that's not hype. That's respect. Real, earned, hardened respect. And once you have that, the transition to becoming the guy isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's where the anticipation is building. You can feel it like a drum beat under the surface. Every day Shedeur stays locked in, every film session he grinds through, every quiet rep he takes. That's another piece of evidence piling up in his favor. He's not asking for the job. He's preparing for the moment the job becomes his. And when that moment arrives, the Browns locker room will already be ready to follow. The question is, will the coaching staff have the guts to make it official before the noise outside becomes deafening? Because if they wait too long, the fans might make the decision for them. This isn't a debate anymore. It's a countdown. You can feel it in every word from Tony Grossi. You can see it in the way Jerry Jeudy and Myles Garrett talk about Shedeur Sanders, and you can hear it in the tension around Cleveland. This isn't about if Shedeur takes over. It's about when. Because let's be real, the situation is one heartbeat away from exploding. One bad drive in Pittsburgh, one interception at home, one moment of hesitation where the offense stalls and the chants will erupt. We want Shedeur! And once the crowd voices it, there's no walking it back. You can't silence a stadium that's already made up its mind. One bad drive, one interception, one moment of hesitation, and it's over. That's the nightmare Dylan Gabriel is living in. It's not just about competing with Shedeur Sanders on the practice field. It's about competing with the idea of Shedeur. And that's a battle no quarterback has ever really won. Ask Alex Smith when Patrick Mahomes was waiting behind him. Ask Tyrod Taylor when Baker Mayfield's name was already on the fans' lips. Once that clock starts ticking, you're just buying time, not building a future. And here's the kicker. Shedeur hasn't even taken a real NFL snap yet. He hasn't led a 2-minute drill in front of 70,000. He hasn't stood in the pocket while a blitz tries to rip his head off. And still, somehow, he feels inevitable. Why? Because leadership shows up before stats ever do. His teammates already believe in him. The locker room already sees the work. The fans already crave the energy he brings. That's not hype. That's gravity. And it's pulling everything in Cleveland toward one conclusion. The Browns didn't draft Shedeur Sanders to sit quietly for years. They didn't bring him into this storm just to be a background character. They drafted him because they knew this day was coming. The day where the rookie stops being a story and starts being the future. And the truth is, the franchise may not survive much longer if they don't make the move. Because this isn't just about Gabriel's mistakes. This is about belief, about momentum, about a fan base that wants to rally behind someone who feels special. Someone who feels different. And right now, that's Shedeur. He's not just a backup quarterback. He's a symbol of hope in a city that's desperate for it. So here's my prediction, and I'm not saying this lightly. The Shedeur Sanders era is going to begin this season. Not in 2 years. Not next offseason. This season. And when it does, he won't just take over a job. He'll redefine the future of the Browns. The way they practice. The way they play. The way this franchise is talked about across the league. Cleveland has been waiting for this moment their entire modern history. Waiting for a quarterback who doesn't just fill the role, but owns it, commands it, electrifies it. And maybe, just maybe, Shedeur Sanders is that guy. The question isn't whether he gets a shot. The question is how long Dylan Gabriel can hold the door closed before the wave comes crashing through. And make no mistake, that wave is coming. So Browns fans, I'll ask you this. Do you ride with Gabriel a little longer? Or do you throw all your weight behind Shedeur now? Because one way or another, this quarterback room is about to change forever.